5 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. It was early stage in the uterus, and it's a very rare cancer called sarcoma. And at the time, because it was so small, my oncologist said, "Don't worry about it. We'll watch you over time, but we caught it early. You're going to be okay." So fortunately, they kept an eye on me. I had a small recurrence a couple years later. They took that out, and then I was fine for another 2 years. So come July of last year, so July 2020, they noticed a slightly enlarged lymph node in my pelvis, and they watched it, and over a couple months, it started to grow. So they determined that it actually was a recurrence, and I would need to do chemotherapy. So I did the traditional cytotoxic chemotherapy where your hair falls out and you're sick. And the idea was to shrink this tumor enough so that they could take it out. And then I could go on my merry way and be disease-free, hopefully, for another, several years. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. I did the full 6 cycles of chemotherapy, and I was expecting that the tumor had shrunk and that I would have surgery and be okay. But what actually happened was the tumor grew and had spread to my lungs. And I know as a cancer biologist that, once, as Dr. Joe was saying, once the cancer spreads to different parts of your body, your prognosis changes a lot, and to be honest, is really not that good. So I enrolled in a clinical trial at a fabulous academic institution in the US, and in that clinical trial, I was able to basically stabilize the tumor growth. So the big tumor didn't grow in my pelvis, and then the lung nodules didn't grow either. So that's good. But come June, so this was in February of this year, come June, so a couple months later, my liver function tests started to go up and become abnormal. I started to have a lot of pain in my pelvis and in my back. In fact, I had to be hospitalized at one point because the pain was so bad. So my physician, my oncologist, did what's called a PET scan, and he saw bone mets all over me, lung mets, innumerable liver mets, metastases, nodules in my abdomen. It was everywhere. So I was off the trial because clearly that drug was not working, and he started me on a new drug. And this was the Friday before I came to Dr. Joe's Colorado retreat back in July. So just a couple months ago. And I attended from Sunday to Thursday. I had to get back in time for treatment. But I remember doing the meditations, lying down, and being in so much pain from lying down in my pelvis that, I had to have pillows around me, and, I was moving around all the time, and it was just agony. And over the course of the week, I noticed very subtly that the pain was getting a little bit better. I thought, maybe this is in my head, but I'm going to go with this. So I had to leave on Thursday and Friday get chemotherapy, so I missed a couple days of the retreat. But when I went in for my blood work, my liver enzymes went from 700, which is really, really bad, like liver failure bad, down to 30, which is even better than they were before I started chemotherapy. So, it was really, really incredible. And even my oncologist, I had just started this new therapy, and as Dr. Joe mentioned, it only works in 6% of people with sarcoma, and most of those people are men and women of color. So, there was a teeny tiny little chance that I would respond to this therapy. So My blood work continued to improve.
Wait. You forgot one important point. You were doing your meditations, how were you?
Every single day. Every single day. And, I would pick the meditation based on what spoke to me that day. It might be the healing one, or the heart-mind coherence, or the blessing of the energy centers. But every single day, I did the meditation. And I also practiced 15 minutes of gratitude for my healing. And with that gratitude came joy. And I lived with that as long as possible, but at least for 15 minutes every day. Because up until that point, I had lived a life of survival and fear. And I was changing that now to this wonderful opportunity that I have. I'm healing, I'm optimistic, and grateful. So doing the meditations every day, and we get a scan finally, so to really see what's going on. And my oncologist actually called me on the phone, which is a big deal. He called me the night before because he was so excited and impressed with what he saw. And what he saw was, and I'm going to quote this, interval response manifested by complete resolution of pulmonary metastasis, so my lung tumors, omental metastasis, so the abdominal tumors. The liver metastasis were like 95% gone, and now they're gone. And then necrosis, or death of that big tumor. And he said, "You are the 1%. He said, "This is absolutely amazing."